Steve Bunce is with me in the studio. Steve, we have to start with Derek Chisora. Now, last time we were here with 5 Live Boxing, we were saying, Derek who?
Yeah.
This was his chance to make his name against Wladimir Klitschko. Fight's been called off at the last minute. Heartbreaking for Chisora.
And in fact, you put him on the spot about a court case that he had coming up, which he got a bit tongue-tied over. Thankfully, he got out of that. The fight went ahead. The fight was going to go ahead until about 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We started to hear rumours. And this is what had happened. This is the official line. And if you say this isn't the official line, you could find yourself, in a bit of trouble. Wladimir Klitschko had an open training session, looked fantastic. 500 people, they absolutely loved it. Derek Chisora was there, they shook hands, glared at each other, they went off to their separate rooms and they were going to relax, then eat until the weigh-in and the fight on Saturday night, live with us. Then Wladimir Klitschko decided to go for a secret private training session with his award-winning and multi-talented coach, Emmanuel Stewart, where he managed somehow, whilst throwing a short left uppercut, to rip his abdominal muscle clear of the rib cage, and there's a 2-inch gash. Now, the people in charge of Klitschko, a guy called Bernd Bonti, he's provided us with the surgeon who examined him. He's provided us with the surgeon who examined him, and also with the CAT scan and the doctor. So it has to be true. It is one of the all-time freak sports accidents, Ellie.
Yeah, it's interesting with the way you put that. You're saying all of that with a slight air of raised eyebrows about you at the moment, Bunsey. We're going to hear from Wladimir Klitschko in a moment. We're also hoping to hear from Derek Chisora, who's just landing back in the UK as we speak from Germany. But Mike Costello, hi Mike. We can hear the little rumble of noise in the background. You're clearly sitting in church somewhere or something like that in Vegas, are you?
Well, we're in the media centre, which is in a huge room right next door to the Mandalay Bay Events Centre, part of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and within the next hour or so the final head-to-head press conference for Amir Khan against Marcos Maidana will be taking place. We're just a few paces from the main stage and the dais in the centre with placards for Khan and Maidana on either side of that, so we'll be hearing from them within the hour, as I say. But I've been in here for a couple of hours already so far today here, and everybody I've spoken to, the first conversation has been about David Haye against Wladimir Klitschko, and will it take place? And here in Vegas, the news broke during a workout by Amir Khan in front of the assembled media here, and everybody disappeared from the workout as Khan was going through his paces to go outside to phone through to their news desks or to phone through to contacts to get more details on the story. And of course, very quickly the story became not so much that the fight against Chisora was off, but would the fight against David Haye be on? And that's why there were these accusations that the injury might not be genuine.
Well, let's hear from Wladimir Klitschko himself. This is his version of events.
I'm totally speechless about explaining how it was. Just something pulled, snapped, and it's on the side between the back and the stomach. It's right on the ribs area. The pain was unbelievable, and after MRI scan, you could see clearly on the pictures there is a torn muscle. I was looking forward to get my 3rd title defense in this year, and unfortunately now the year is going to the end, and we'll have to postpone it to the next year.
And it is a postponement, not a cancellation. How would you characterize the fight against Derek Chisora? Where does it stand status-wise?
It's definitely it's going to be postponed for next year. Right now, Derek Chisora got great promotion. Before I didn't know even myself who was Derek Chisora. Now he's out there, and I created it, and I did it, and I promoted him, and I want to give it as a gift to anyone. So he's definitely mine, and next year we will get together and fight in the ring. It just needs time, 6 weeks, and after 6 weeks I'm going to be ready to fight Chisora if he's available. If he's not, then someone else. Is your British man also David Hayes out there, Thomas Adamek, or someone else. So, but definitely Derek Chisora is someone that's gonna be as my next opponent next year.
Okay, just finally on that point, we'll talk about David Hayes shortly, but on the Derek Chisora point, he was a voluntary defense. So there's no contractual obligation for you to face him, but you would face him again.
Yes, there is nothing contractual obligations or like any of the versions have to, insist him as a mandatory unless he will become a mandatory. But Derek Chisora is definitely someone that got promoted, created by myself, and of course I will take him.
So with regard to David Haye, what truth are in the rumors that you have representatives talking about a possible unification fight with David Haye in Las Vegas right now?
No, this is completely nonsense. The cancellation of the fight has nothing to do with David Haye at all, or any negotiations with him at all. The rumor is not true. So nobody talks to David Haye or used to talk to David Haye, especially to cancel this fight, no.
Well, that was Wladimir Klitschko talking to Ron McIntosh. Just a quick one from you, Steve, on this injury. He says he's definitely out for 6 weeks. But from what you've just been saying to me, an injury like that should put him out for much longer than that.
Well, the official statement from Bert Bonter, his manager, promoter, friend, and the hospital suggested it was a 2-inch tear. Now, I know a little bit about sports medicine, and I know that a 2-inch tear doesn't keep you out for a couple of weeks. 2-inch tears are the sort of things that get infected. 2-inch tears are the type of things that don't heal. 2-inch tears demand months and months of rehabilitation, not for Dr. As he is a doctor, not for Dr. Wladimir Klitschko. He thinks he's going to be back in 6 weeks or so. I find that staggering. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying I find that staggering, Ellie.
Well, let's talk to Derek Chisora, who's just landed back in the UK from Germany. Hi, Derek.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Well, obviously, commiserations from us. When did you find out that the fight was off?
We just finished doing the public workout. I went back 2 hours, staying in my hotel, and I got a phone call from my friend saying the fight was off. And I called Frank, and Frank told me.
You must be bitterly disappointed about this.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I'm very gutted right now.
Derek, one of the things that Wladimir said there was he said that there's nothing contractual, and that if he gives you another fight, it will be because he wants to fight you. Now I understand that's not. Oh, you don't think that's the case. You think there is something in a contract.
I think there's something in the contract anyway. But you know what? There's nothing in the contract. Oh, I'll fight him another day. But to be honest with you, the guy didn't want to fight me because when we got there, we rattled the cage. His whole team wasn't unsettled, so, and then after they saw me work out on a public workout, his eyes said, you know what, I don't want to be in this fight no more.
So do you think that he took one look at you and thought, this guy's a bit better than I thought he was?
Yeah. Manuel Stewart came to me and he said, oh, great footwork, you moved very good. And then that's when I knew something dodgy was going to happen.
How hard did you train for this one, Derek? I mean, the biggest fight of your life. How much did you put into this?
Every fight's a big fight, like I put in 10 weeks for every fight I fight for, so I train for 10 weeks.
So Derek, let me ask you this. Do you think in your heart of hearts he didn't want to fight you because he would risk a fight with David Haye, which of course would be far more money than risking losing against you? Do you think that's the story in your heart of hearts, Derek?
Yeah, that's the story, but you know what, when I was on my way up here, I had a nice theory, me, David Haye versus the two brothers, 2 fights on the night, the older brother versus me, the younger brother versus David Haye.
On the same night?
On the same night, box office, trying to put some injection in the heavyweight game. And I think me and David Haye will put it off. And then we'll do the return matches back in London for everybody to be happy.
You think you're going to fight David Haye one day, Derek? I mean, is that your gut feeling that you and David Haye will one day fight for the heavyweight title?
Well, I would like to fight David, but I don't think David Haye would like to fight Derek.
Now we've been told by Frank Warren that the Klitschkos have 30 days to give you a new date, and that date must be within 180 days of the injury. So that would take us into the new year. But listening to what Steve was just saying about this injury for Wladimir Klitschko, if it really is as bad as it could be, what do you reckon? I mean, do you think it's going to happen?
Inside information, Wladimir trained 3 weeks for this fight, or 4 weeks. He didn't full camping for this fight. Okay. Yeah. That's why we've been getting told anyway. 4 weeks.
So he took you lightly, and once Manny Stewart, who knows a thing or two about boxing, and they saw you in the flesh, it's your gut feeling that they thought, Derek, Del Boy Chisora, Finchley's finest, is too big a risk for me to fight.
Exactly.
Oh, I tell you what, Derek. If only that, if I could prove that, it would be absolutely beautiful.
Just watch the press conference and you see.
I tell you what though, Derek, this has done great things for your profile, hasn't it? Even without you stepping into the ring.
Yeah, I'm not in the game to build my profile, but I'm in the game to change the sport, you know. People don't, you know, I just arrived at the airport right now. You know, the guy I was going through immigration, he's saying, you know what, I'm not interested in boxing no more because there's nothing interesting in boxing. So, you know, we need to give that life back in boxing. That's why I was excited about this fight. Not about me boosting my ego and saying I'm going to be more noticed in the whole world. But no, I wanted to fight this guy and beat him.
And what's next for you now, Derek? You're going to have a little bit of a break over Christmas after all that hard training. Can you relax and enjoy yourself a bit?
I'm going to Liverpool on tomorrow to support all my friends fighting on that bill, and that's why I'm going to be in Liverpool for a couple of days, and I'm going to fly to Poland for 3 weeks.
You doing some sparring out there?
No, I'm just going to go handle some business.
Oh, okay. Handle some business in Poland. Okay, yeah. Derek. That's why we call you Del Boy.
Good stuff. You haven't got to rely on Robin Van, have you?
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Sorry, stupid question. Stupid question. Of course you have. Listen, Derek, it's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed, and have a safe journey home.
Thank you. Bye.
That was Derek Chisora. It's true though, isn't it, Steve? We've all heard of Derek Chisora now, haven't we?
You know what? I tell you what, he's an honest, straightforward guy. He's a character. He's heavy-handed, and he gives his all. And in the fight that we had, a fantastic show that Frank Warren had back in September, we had it on 5 Live here. He was magnificent in a British heavyweight title fight against a guy called Sam Sexton. They fought out a mini classic, and the crowd loved every second of it. And he came back when it looked like he was finished. He fights with his heart on his sleeve, and he's funny. He's a character. He's had 14 fights. He's got a reliant Robin, and he's going out to Poland to do some business. What's not to like, Ellie? I'm asking you, what's not to like about this kid? And he was going to be fearless in that fight against Wladimir Klitschko. He wasn't going to be like the Americans that have got in the ring and fallen over and flown back to America amazed at how tall and big Klitschko was. He knew how tall and big he was, and he was going to give it his all even if he went down in 2 rounds. I'm convinced of that.
Mike, listening to that, I mean, he's obviously convinced that the Klitschko, that Wladimir Klitschko has ducked him, isn't he? And do you think there is any truth in that?
Well, I'm not so sure about that, but what he's doing is just keeping the momentum going. So many more people know about him now than they did even a couple of months ago. And hey, look, what nobody's mentioned yet, what about David Haye beats Wladimir Klitschko, and then it's David Haye against Derek Chisora?
Absolutely.
Imagine the build-up to that fight would be momentous. And unlike the fight between David Haye and Audley Harrison, I'm not so sure we'd be disappointed with the outcome. Haye would be a massive favourite, of course, but it would be a huge event in the build-up as well as on the night itself.